Hello, and welcome to Starting Points, where one thing leads to another. In the last video, I mentioned about Layne Howard's book about birds as individuals, and I wanted to follow up on that. One thing leads to another. I first learned about it reading this book called The Great Chain of Life by Joseph Wood Crutch. He published, his book was published in 1956, and Layne's book about the birds was published in 1952. And he'd read the book, and here's what he says about it on page 121. Even more striking in certain respects are two recent English books, Layne Howard's Birds as Individuals, which describes the surprising and often highly individual behavior of wild birds, especially titmice, who have been left their liberty but invited into the house, and Sold for a Farthing by Claire Kipps, which recounts the life story of a tame sparrow. Both these observers are amateurs, but Julian Huxley has vouched for both as far as their reports on the actual behavior of their companions is concerned, and he is ready to grant that they seem to have demonstrated that birds are capable of what might be called social adjustment, to a degree not hitherto suspected. What seems surprising to have surprised both Huxley and other commentators even more than the adaptability and apparent intelligence of creatures generally assumed to be less intelligent than many mammals is the extent to which the birds also exhibited individual variation and differences of treatment. The extent, in other words, to which members of the same species seem to develop what we might as well call an individual personality. The distinguished American ornithologist Roger Torrey Peterson has this to say: the point that Miss Howard emphasizes is that birds are individuals. Their actions often seem to demonstrate some sort of bird intelligence and do not always fall into the oversimplified, mechanical patterns which some of us have come to accept. As Dr. Nico Tinbergen, the great behaviorist of Oxford University, comments in Ibis, Miss Howard describes most amazing things, and critical zoologists and psychologists, if not familiar with the ways of birds in the wild, may tend to armchair incredulity. I have no such doubts, however. No other bird book in years has been the subject of so much discussion in England as has Miss Howard's. Well, I remembered Nico Tinbergen, curious naturalist, and a point he was making was the joys and the value of doing tests on animals outside in their own natural settings. The response that they would give would be more reliable than one would get if they were kept in cages and tested in a laboratory. This was based on 25 years of research with various animals and people, which he recounts in this book. So I became curious too. I wanted to get a copy of Layne Howard's book. And I thought, I'll check at the University of Victoria. Their library is open to the public to check out books, and it's quite extensive. But when I checked online, they didn't have a copy. I thought, Well, I'll try the public library in Victoria. Numerous branches, great customer service in terms of checking out things and having things sent from one branch library to one that's closer, a branch closer to one. It's well, no luck there either. So I thought, okay, what about trying interlibrary loan? So from the public library, I could make an application online to have them request the book through other libraries across Canada. I had to agree to pay, if there was a charge for shipping, the $5 or $10 fee that it might be, which I agreed to because I wanted to read this book. And I'd looked to see if it was available any place used, and the best I could do was about $80. So I said, well, goodness me. Now this was about 4 years ago. Now when I look, there's only one copy available at Amazon.ca, and they wanted, I wrote it down because I couldn't believe it, $249.32. So the book arrives. I take a few notes. Page 83, birds learn from mistakes. 96, change tactics according to the individual. 96, respond to change in the weather before humans. Well, I knew that other animals did that too. 98, birds recognize each other. 101, laughter notes. Now, Layne Howard had been a concert pianist and left London to move to a cottage in the country. And she had the ear to be able to make a comment like that. 106, games swallows played with goose or duck feather. 118, 119, have individual tastes in foods. 172, birds have an infinite variety of notes. So I thought, jeepers, how could someone be actually be incredulous about this individualness of birds? Anybody that's kept animals know the individuality of animals. I showed you this book early on, our animal friends at Maple Hill Farm by the Provinsons, and it's got loads of examples. Here's Max. He has a high, tiny voice, and he likes cottage cheese. And what he does in the following page, it shows the four cats and their different characters and different disposition, and that goes on for the dogs and the chickens and the roosters. And here's an example from Muffin, who's only 9 months old, and Dinah, who's 13 years old, when they like to play games. And both Dinah and Muffin like to play ball, but they don't play the same way. When you throw a ball for them, Dinah finds it by smelling it, where it went. Muffin has to see where it went. If Dinah gets the ball first, she brings it back, hoping you will throw it again. If Muffin gets the ball, she runs away with it, hoping you will chase her. And on with the horses and the geese and all the other animals. So the birds are just smaller in size. They've got the same individuality. So I thought that that's important to keep in mind. The same with teaching a class of students. They all might have similar age, but they all are individuals with their pluses and their minuses, their talents and skills. So, well, thanks for joining me, and bye for now.